I stood outside the glass tower holding a lunch basket. My husband Garrison had been working late every night for 3 months. He said the company needed him. He said deals were closing. I believed him because after 38 years of marriage, you trust the person sleeping beside you. The building gleamed in the afternoon sun. I'd never visited his office before. He always said it was boring, just meetings and paperwork, but today was our anniversary, and I wanted to surprise him. I walked toward the entrance with a smile. Then I saw the sign mounted beside the revolving doors. It was small, brass, professional looking. The words made my blood turn cold. The sign read, Garrison Thorne retired from CEO position, effective January 15th. Please direct all inquiries to acting CEO Lisbeth Crane. I read it 3 times, my hands started shaking. January 15th was 4 months ago. 4 months of Garrison leaving the house in suits. 4 months of late nights and weekend conferences. 4 months of lies. I stepped back from the entrance, my heart pounding. A security guard noticed me staring at the sign. He asked if I needed help. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. I turned and walked quickly back to my car before anyone could see the tears forming. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes trying to breathe. Questions exploded in my mind like fireworks. If Garrison wasn't working here, where was he going every day? Why would he lie about retiring? What was he doing with all those hours? I thought about calling him right then, demanding answers, but something stopped me. If I confronted him now, he'd have time to prepare another lie. I needed to know the truth first. I needed evidence. I started the car and drove home in silence. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. When I pulled into our driveway, I made a decision. Garrison came home at 7 o'clock like always. He kissed my cheek and said the merger talks had been exhausting. I smiled and asked about his day. He gave me the same vague answers he'd been giving for months. Important meetings, difficult clients, paperwork that never ended. I watched his face carefully as he spoke. He didn't blink, didn't hesitate. He'd become a perfect liar. We ate dinner together while he complained about office politics that didn't exist. I nodded and asked questions, playing along. Inside, I felt like I was sitting across from a stranger. After dinner, he went to his study to work on reports. I cleaned the kitchen and waited. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay beside Garrison listening to him breathe. He slept peacefully like a man with nothing to hide. I stared at the ceiling until dawn. When morning came, I pretended everything was normal. I made his coffee exactly how he liked it. I ironed his shirt while he showered. I kissed him goodbye at the door. Then I watched him drive away in his black sedan. I counted to 60, then I grabbed my purse and followed him. I'd never followed anyone in my life. My heart hammered as I stayed 3 cars behind him on the highway. He didn't go toward the business district. He drove in the opposite direction. Garrison drove for 40 minutes into a neighborhood I'd never seen. The houses here were smaller, older, with chain link fences and toys scattered in yards. He pulled into the driveway of a yellow house with white shutters. I parked down the street and watched. He sat in his car for a moment. Then he got out, loosened his tie, and walked to the front door. He didn't knock, he used a key. My stomach dropped. A key meant he belonged there. The door opened and a woman appeared. She was younger than me, maybe late 40s, with dark hair pulled into a ponytail. She smiled at him, then she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him. I couldn't breathe. I watched them disappear inside the house together. The door closed behind them. I sat frozen in my car, tears streaming down my face. 38 years, 3 children, 2 grandchildren, a lifetime of trust and partnership. All of it was a lie. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour. Finally, I wiped my eyes and started the car. I drove home in a daze. When I walked through our front door, everything looked the same. Our wedding photo still hung in the hallway. His coffee mug still sat in the sink. But nothing was the same. Nothing would ever be the same again. I spent the afternoon searching through Garrison's home office. I felt guilty at first, invading his privacy. Then I remembered the key and the kiss. And the guilt disappeared. I found bank statements in his desk drawer. There was an account I'd never seen before. Every month, large deposits went in. Then large withdrawals came out, always in cash, thousands of dollars moving through an account I knew nothing about. I photographed everything with my phone. Then I found something else. Tucked inside an old calendar was a doctor's bill. Not for Garrison, for someone named Petra Lowland. The address matched the yellow house. My hands trembled as I took more pictures. That evening, when Garrison came home, I was calm. I'd spent hours preparing myself. He walked in complaining about traffic. I asked if he wanted dinner. He said he'd already eaten. A late lunch meeting, another lie. I nodded and smiled. After he went upstairs, I opened my laptop and searched for Petra Loweland on social media. I found her immediately. Her profile was private, but her profile picture showed her smiling beside Garrison. They looked happy, they looked like a couple. I scrolled through mutual friends and found something that made my blood run cold. One friend had tagged them both in a post from 2 years ago. Happy anniversary to the perfect pair. 2 years, this wasn't a recent mistake. This was a double life. I looked through more photos, more posts, more evidence of a relationship that existed alongside our marriage. Petra worked as a nurse. She had a daughter from a previous marriage. In every photo, Garrison looked relaxed and happy in ways I hadn't seen in years. I felt sick, not just because of the betrayal, but because I'd been so blind. How many times had I made excuses for his distance? How many signs had I ignored? I closed the laptop and sat in the dark living room. When Garrison came downstairs for water, he found me sitting there. He asked if I was okay. I looked at my husband, standing in the kitchen doorway. He wore the pajamas I'd bought him for Christmas. His hair was graying at the temples. I'd loved this man since I was 25 years old. I asked him directly, "Are you happy?" The question surprised him. He said of course he was happy. Why would I ask that? I said he seemed distant lately. Distracted, he came and sat beside me. He took my hand and said work had been stressful. But everything was fine. He promised we'd take a vacation soon. Just the two of us. The lies came so easily to him now. I squeezed his hand and said that sounded wonderful. Inside, I was already planning my next move. The next morning, I called our family attorney. Her name was Dorothea Plank, and we'd used her for years to handle wills and property transfers. I told her I needed to see her urgently. She fit me in that afternoon. When I walked into her office, she smiled warmly, then she saw my face. I told her everything, the sign at the building, the yellow house, the secret account, the photos online. Dorothea listened without interrupting. When I finished, she opened her laptop and started taking notes. She said the first step was gathering more evidence. She recommended a private investigator. I said I'd already started. She nodded with approval and said we needed financial records next. Dorothea explained that if Garrison had been funneling marital assets into a secret life, I had rights to compensation. She asked about our finances. I told her everything was joint. Our house, our savings, our retirement accounts. We'd built everything together over nearly 4 decades. She said that worked in my favor. Then she asked the hard question. Did I want to try to save the marriage or end it? I didn't hesitate. I wanted it ended. Some betrayals you can forgive. This wasn't one of them. She said she'd start preparing paperwork. I left her office feeling something unexpected. Not sadness, not anger. I felt powerful. I felt clear. I felt ready. For the next week, I played the perfect wife. I cooked Garrison's favorite meals. I asked about his fake job. I laughed at his jokes. At night, I gathered evidence. I photographed documents. I tracked his movements. I recorded conversations where he lied about where he'd been. Dorothea's investigator followed him and confirmed everything. Garrison spent every weekday at the Yellow House. He had dinner with Petra and her daughter. He attended her daughter's school events. He was living a complete second life. The investigator discovered something else. Garrison had taken early retirement with a massive payout. He'd hidden the entire amount in the secret account, money that legally belonged to both of us. I also learned that Petra had no idea Garrison was married. The investigator spoke to her neighbors. They all believed Garrison was divorced. He'd told Petra his ex-wife lived overseas. He'd told her they'd separated years ago. Petra wasn't a villain, she was a victim too. That knowledge changed something in me. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for the truth. Dorothea filed the divorce papers on a Tuesday morning. The law required Garrison be served in person. We arranged for it to happen at the Yellow House. I wanted him served in front of Petra. I wanted his world of lies to collapse all at once, just like mine had. On Thursday afternoon, I drove to the Yellow House and parked across the street. I watched a process server walk up to the door. He knocked, Petra answered. She called for Garrison. He came to the door in casual clothes. No suit or tie. The server handed him the papers. I saw Garrison's face change as he read them. He looked up, confused, then shocked. Petra asked what was happening. Garrison tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come. The server left. Petra was reading over Garrison's shoulder now. I saw her step back, saw her hand go to her mouth, saw the moment she realized she'd been lied to. Garrison reached for her, she pulled away. I started my car and drove home. I didn't need to see more. An hour later, Garrison burst through our front door. His face was red, his hands shook. He demanded to know what I'd done. I was sitting calmly at the kitchen table with tea. I said I'd filed for divorce. He said we needed to talk about this. I said there was nothing to talk about. He'd made his choices, now I was making mine. He tried explaining. He said it started as a mistake but became complicated. He said he loved us both. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because he actually believed that made it better. I told him to pack a bag and leave. Garrison refused to leave. He said this was his house too. I agreed. Then I showed him the financial evidence Dorothea had compiled. The hidden retirement payout, the secret account, the money that should have been marital property. I explained that he'd committed financial fraud. I had proof of everything. If he wanted to avoid criminal charges, he'd cooperate with the divorce. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. He asked when I became so cold. I said I became this version of myself the day I saw that sign at his building. The day I realized the man I loved had never really existed. He packed a bag without another word. The divorce took 4 months. Garrison tried fighting it at first. His lawyers argued that the retirement money was his alone. Dorothea destroyed that argument with evidence. The judge ruled that hiding marital assets was fraud. Garrison was ordered to return every penny to our joint accounts. Plus penalties, I got the house, half of everything we'd built together, and a portion of his actual pension. I didn't want revenge, I wanted what was fair. The judge agreed. On the day the divorce was finalized, I stood outside the courthouse and felt the sun on my face. I was 63 years old, single for the first time in 38 years, and I felt free. 6 months later, I sold the house. Too many memories lived in those walls. I bought a small condo near my daughter and grandchildren. I started taking art classes I'd always wanted to try. I traveled to places Garrison had always said were too expensive or too boring. I lived. Petra reached out to me once through Facebook. She apologized for unknowingly being part of the deception. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. We'd both been lied to. Garrison, I heard, moved to another state. I never spoke to him again. Some people asked if I regretted not trying to save the marriage. I told them the truth. You can't save something that was built on lies. If something feels wrong in your life, trust that feeling. Don't ignore the signs because confronting them is uncomfortable. I ignored my instincts for months because I wanted to believe in the life I thought I had. That cost me time I'll never get back. But it taught me something valuable. You're never too old to start over. You're never too old to demand the truth. And you're never too old to choose yourself. If my story resonates with you, leave a comment about where you're watching from. Your story matters too, and remember, the bravest thing you can do is face the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Trust yourself, demand truth, choose freedom. You deserve a life built on honesty, not lies. Before you go, I need to know something. What hit you the hardest? The betrayal. The moment everything fell apart. The twist you never saw coming. Drop it in the comments right now. And tell me what you want to see next. Medical fraud, family secrets, financial crimes, hidden identities. Your ideas become our next stories. If this story kept you glued to the screen, hit that like button. If you want more shocking true stories that expose the truth, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. Thanks for letting me share this story with you. The next one drops soon, and it's going to shake you even harder. See you there.